There's this hidden force at work in pretty much every transaction you make, from buying a coffee to landing a job. It's this invisible imbalance of power. And honestly, understanding it is the key to making way smarter decisions. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see what's really going on. So, have you ever walked away from a negotiation or a big purchase or even just signing a contract and you've got that nagging feeling in your gut? That little voice telling you that you were missing something, that the other person knew something important that you didn't? Yeah, you're not alone. And that feeling, it actually has a name. To really get to the heart of this, we're going to use a classic example I think we can all relate to, the dreaded used car lot. I mean, it is the perfect scenario, right? You've got one person, the seller, who knows everything about that car, inside and out. And then there's you, the buyer, who knows, well, almost nothing. Is it a reliable gem, or is it secretly a lemon? But here's the thing. This isn't just a car problem. It's an information problem. And in the world of economics, this kind of imbalance is a huge deal. It's the central idea we're going to unpack right now. The culprit has a name, and it's information asymmetry. It's really just a fancy way of saying one side knows more than the other. The car seller knows if the engine sputters on cold mornings. A job applicant knows if they're actually a team player or just say they are. This hidden knowledge can totally warp the entire deal. And this isn't just about you feeling ripped off. This imbalance can cause entire markets to completely break down. Seriously, when trust disappears because nobody can be sure what they're actually buying, people might just stop buying altogether. Okay, now what's really fascinating about all this is that the problem shows up in two totally distinct ways. There's the problem of hidden information before you even make a deal, and then there's a whole different problem that can pop up after you've already shaken hands. So let's start with the before. This is what's called adverse selection. It's the challenge of trying to pick something good from a whole pool of options when you can't tell the good from the bad. You end up adversely selecting because the options you're most likely to get stuck with are, you guessed it, the ones you really don't want. This brings us to the famous market for lemons death spiral. Let's just walk through it because it's brilliant. Since you, the buyer, can't be sure if a car is good or a piece of junk, you're not going to pay top dollar, right? You'll offer an average price just to be safe. But hey, if you own a great car, that average price is a total insult. So what do? You take your good car off the market. So what's left? Only the bad cars, the lemons. Pretty soon, the whole market is just lemons, and nobody wants to buy anything. The market literally collapses. All right, let's look at the second side of this coin. This is the after the deal issue, and it's known as moral hazard. Now, this isn't about hidden information about a product, it's about hidden actions. It's all about how our behavior changes once we're protected from risk. I mean, think about it. If you have full coverage car insurance, are you maybe just a little less careful about where you park? Or at work, if your boss isn't watching, do you scroll on your phone a little bit more? That's moral hazard. The deal itself, the insurance policy, the job, creates an incentive to behave differently and often in a riskier or less diligent way. So let's just nail this down. This distinction is absolutely crucial. Adverse selection is about the risk of picking a bad option that's already out there, all because of information you don't have before the deal. Moral hazard is about someone's actions changing for the worse after the deal is done, because they're no longer bearing the full risk. Before versus after, that's the key. Okay, so this all sounds pretty bleak, right? Markets full of lemons, people taking advantage of their situation, but thankfully this story doesn't end there. Markets have actually evolved some incredibly clever ways to fight back and build trust by closing that information gap. The first strategy is called signaling. This is when the person who has the secret information does something credible to prove their true quality. It's their way of raising a flag and saying, hey, trust me, I'm one of the good ones. And here's the trick. For these signals to actually work, they have to be hard or expensive to fake. A 4-year university degree, that's a costly signal of your dedication and smarts. A seller offering a 5-year warranty is signaling massive confidence in their product because they'll lose a ton of money if it's a lemon. These aren't just empty words. They are real, costly commitments that a lemon just couldn't afford to make. But what if you're the one with less information? Well, you don't have to just sit there and hope for a signal. You can do something called screening. This is where you create a test or a system that basically forces the other party to reveal their hidden information. For example, when an insurance company offers a cheap plan but with a really high deductible, that's a screen. Only super safe drivers are going to choose that plan, so they reveal themselves. A tough, multi-stage technical interview? That's a screen for only the most skilled candidates. You're basically setting up a hoop that only the high-quality party is willing or able to jump through. So why does a theory about used cars from, decades ago matter so much right now? Well, because in our modern data-driven world, the battle over who knows what, this battle over information asymmetry, is more intense than ever before. This concept is absolutely everywhere. It's in healthcare, where your doctor knows way more than you. It's in finance, where borrowers know their own risk level better than lenders. And maybe most importantly, it's all over your digital life, shaping what you see, what you buy, and what you believe online. And this is where things get really interesting, because technology is a total double-edged sword here. On one hand, yeah, things like online reviews can help solve the old lemon problem for products. But on the other hand, we're now facing new, way more complex asymmetries. Think about algorithmic pricing that shows you and me different prices for the exact same flight. Or in the job market, instead of just a boss worrying about an employee slacking off, we now have these mysterious, opaque hiring algorithms deciding who even gets an interview in the first place. We've kind of solved one set of problems only to create a whole new one. And this all leads us to a really powerful modern truth. In today's economy, the companies that hold the most data, well, they hold the most power. The information imbalance isn't just about one seller and one buyer anymore. Now, it's about massive platforms and billions of us. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. As technology gets more complex and AI starts making more and more decisions for us, who really has the upper hand? Are we actually closing that information gap, or is it maybe getting wider than it's ever been before? Something to think about.